Niko, right? That's your name? Niko?
Yep. What's going on, everybody? Today I have the next Lieutenant Governor of Ohio, and I am glad because from what I have heard, Ohio really needs it. But today I have Brett Joseph of the Green Party. What's going on, Brett? How you doing?
Doing great. Glad to be joining you from sweltering Ohio. We have a bit of a heat wave coming through here.
What's your definition of a heat wave? I live in Miami, so it might be different.
Yeah, probably a little different. But we'll take it. We'll take it. After the winter we had this year.
I feel like a heat wave is a little bit better than a drought, or because some people, you know, California, they got all kinds of water problems over there. At least you got to deal with Fukushima. I have no idea when the next time they're ever going to be able to drink regular water. So, but so you're running for lieutenant government. When did you start your campaign?
It's been over a year now since I joined in with Connie on the same ticket, and it's been an eventful year. Just laying all the groundwork, reaching out to getting endorsements, going to the various candidate forum, and now that we're past the primaries, over about a month and a half since the primaries, now we're on the general election ballot, and we're making a major pivot and really doing that grassroots outreach, taking our campaign to the public. Good
stuff, man. So you just said you've been going out and getting endorsements. What endorsements have you gotten for yourself thus far?
Well, we've reached out to the Moms Demand Action and the Every Town for Gun Safety. We're very much aligned with, and we have the endorsement of the Community Environmental Legal Defense Fund. Based on our community rights, we've been working very closely with the Ohio Organizing Collaborative, the Service Employees Union. We're still working on them, but got a lot of alignment there. We've been working closely with SPAN Ohio, which is the Single Payer Action Network, and just various other endorsements.
Good stuff. So what's your background? What were you doing before you had the goal of becoming lieutenant governor?
Well, my background is in law, like my running mate Connie. However, I followed a slightly different pathway. I spent 15 years working in the federal government.
So you have a lot of experience there already.
Yeah, I have experience on the inside of civil service, if you will, at least at the federal level. And I also worked a lot through the program. I was working with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, basically doing environmental law. And a lot of that was collaborating with the state. So I did a lot of traveling around to the different states, helping them with their water quality programs and marine pollution control programs.
Well, speaking of which, I know that I just interviewed actually Shauna McNally. She's running for House in Michigan, and she was talking about the Nexus pipeline. I know that's something that's afflicting or will afflict Ohio as well, right?
It already is afflicting us, and I think the word affliction is an accurate one to describe what's happening here. It's really an outrage. The Nexus and Energy Transfer Partners and Cabot Oil and these other companies are basically deregulated. Under the all the way going back to 2005 with the Halliburton amendment at the federal level, and there's been a corresponding inroads at the state level where basically they are now in a position where they are actually using quasi-governmental powers, a delegated state preemptive authority to suppress the community rights, enforce these pipelines upon communities. And there's a very substantial and growing resistance movement happening in Ohio.
And is that something that would be within your control and Constance's control if y'all could win those offices?
Yes. This implicates the state government completely. It is a misuse of the state's preemptive power. The state has the general kind of reserve power. They call it the police power. Mm-hmm. That's the legal term for kind of the catch-all power for any actions needed to secure the public health and safety. At the same time, Ohio is a home rule state, which is to say that communities have a right to self-government that is secured under the Ohio Constitution. And in the past, when communities have adopted provisions that are stricter or more protective of either the environment or public safety, the state has generally deferred, and the court has upheld those more protective local ordinances. However, in the case of the fracking, the tables have been turned around to where now you have communities like, for example, the town of Oberlin, which I was just at 2 weeks ago, has a pipeline that is one of the Nexus pipelines that's running past the edge, just outside the border of the community, and only a couple hundred feet away from the fire station and a community center, as well as the community garden and a newly developed subdivision there. Literally,
yeah,
just
Shauna was just talking about it's 1,000 feet away from her daughter's elementary school, and in the school that she graduated from and her son graduated from, and it's an immediate problem. If it exploded, it would destroy the school or put the school in danger, essentially.
Right, and we have exactly the same situation here. And there have been recent explosions. There were two that just occurred in West Virginia in this past month. And literally, this pipeline, you have young kids looking out their bedroom window, and they can see it running right past in the farm field in back of their house.
Wow.
But what's really an outrage about this situation is that Oberlin is one of those cities that has really been supportive of climate resilience and transitioning to renewables. In fact, they hosted just last year a conference on the post-fossil fuel economy. You have Oberlin College there, which is known as a progressive school, and kind of a lot of thought leaders that are based in that community. In this case, 2 years ago, the Oberlin City Council enacted a community rights ordinance, which by its terms empowered the community to adopt more restrictive measures. As soon as they went to use that with a unanimous vote to stop the Nexus pipeline, the state stepped in.
What?
The state stepped in at the behest of the oil company and used its eminent domain authority to override the local statute. That still is in litigation. It's on appeal. The attorney representing the community has been receiving threats of attorney's fees and fines. And this is a pattern that we are seeing.
It's bullying. It's economic bullying.
It basically is. It's I think it's not an overstatement to say that this is a war on our democracy, because it's not just in the case of the oil pipelines or the other big related issue, which is the injection wells, which are, where Ohio is basically being used to receive get millions and millions of gallons of toxic wastewater being shipped from Pennsylvania, mostly in West Virginia. And in addition, we've had other instances where, a community wanted to prevent a puppy mill, or the community wanted to establish a gun-free zone. And those types of measures that are reasonable measures, they are based on the self-determining democratic will of the local communities for the protection of public health and safety. And as I said, in the past, the state would defer to them, but now we have a case of state overreach, which is just indicative of where our politics is these days. It's not, the state incumbents are not representing the interests of the people, and that's basically the cornerstone of our grassroots campaign. We're out to take back our democracy for the people of Ohio.
That's good stuff, man. So obviously, for both you and Constance, Ohio is one of those states that's been hurt a lot by trade deals like NAFTA, and you know, Michigan, like I said, I was just interviewing Shauna McNally, same thing. Do y'all have any plans how to transition into this new wave of what we hope to be, you know, green, renewable economy?
Right. We are running on the vision of a rapid transition, a transition in our agricultural system, transition in our workforce, which is of necessity because most of the higher paid manufacturing jobs, as is well known, have left Ohio, have indeed left this whole region ever since NAFTA 20 years ago. And it's been a draining of jobs from the economy. And the incumbents of the two major parties continue to promise that those high-paid manufacturing jobs are going to come back. If all you have to do is look at the the metrics currently, and the whole trend, especially post-recession, has been zero to continued decline in the manufacturing jobs. All the jobs that are supposedly created have been in the service sector, basically your dollar store, the fast food restaurants, and so forth. That's not going to revitalize our economy. So to your question, our plan is to focus on community-level economic development by changing the budget priorities and investing in people rather than in this tendency towards more and more privatization that we've seen over the last couple of decades, and it's really gone on steroids in the current
temporary stuff. On top of that, like these pipelines, they don't create long-term jobs, just long-term problems.
Right. They haven't created the numbers of jobs that were originally promised, and the jobs that are created are temporary. I was just speaking to, a voter or group of voters down in Dover, Ohio, which is right in that area of the Marcellus Shale where they've been part of this fight over the injection wells and the fracking, and was told that there was equipment that was brought in and then just abandoned. So even the I mean it's what happened is they came in and started to set up the drilling rigs, but then the way the economics of it worked out, and the difference between Pennsylvania and Ohio, it became more economic to be doing the drilling in Pennsylvania and then dumping the wastewater in Ohio.
Wow.
By the same token, you still have very aggressive tactics by the energy industry to, including a public misinformation campaign, with kind of a carrot and a stick approach to try to get the farmers to renegotiate their leases, to go much deeper into the substrate that would allow for this industry to take off. And
we saw a situation. We saw similar tactics used in Bismarck, where they convinced the town that this is good, it's okay. The access pipeline is going to be beneficial for everybody. Yeah, right. It already started leaking, by the way, in case y'all wonder how that story ended.
Right. Yeah, and so fortunately, we have some really dedicated groups here. We have Frack Free Ohio. We have Frack Tracker, which has done a really good job of using data to show the overlays of where the earthquake activity is and where the toxic hotspots and cancer clusters have emerged. And so now, unlike even 10 years ago, we have a lot of the science to really make the case why this activity at any level is unacceptable. We need an immediate ban. And again, we're talking about a transition economy. At the same time, Ohio, under the incumbent administration, has bent over backwards to accommodate the dirty fossil fuel industry. They have frozen the progress towards renewables. We had several years of the state portfolio standards, which is required a portion of the energy load to be supplied by renewables, and that was driving technology. That was driving innovation. There were startups happening in Ohio around different components of the supply line for renewable energy, and the Ohio General Assembly first put a temporary freeze on it, and then later made that freeze indefinite, aka permanent.
Yeah. I say I know what indefinite means.
Yeah, until we get a change in the politics, in the whose vision is going to prevail here in Ohio.
So if people want to go and donate to your campaign, help out, where would they be able to go? What website?
They would be able to easily donate by going to constanceforohio.org. So Constance for Ohio, all one word, and Constance being my running mate's first name, Connie for short. ConstanceForOhio.org. You can donate via PayPal there by just entering your name and your employer, which is a requirement of the election campaign finance law.
Good stuff.
And we'll accept any amount of donation. We do not accept any corporate funding whatsoever. It's entirely people driven. So if there's not a human being behind that donation, we will not be accepting it. We are out to. But
Brett, didn't you know
work for
corporations are human beings? That's what we're told now. So
yeah, corporate persons. So I've heard.
So once again, people, that's constanceforohio.org, correct?
.org, yeah. If you hit .com, it will roll over to the .org.
Oh, well, that helps.
So yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, I appreciate what you all are doing out there in Ohio. If you live in Ohio, make sure that you check them out. Phone banking, any type of canvassing, all that stuff does help out. If you don't have a dollar that you can donate, you can definitely donate your time. I'm sure they would greatly appreciate that. Probably in some cases more. So check out constanceforohio.org. Donate your money if you can. Donate your time, and let's start changing the face of this country, because, you never know, people. The next state that may get a Nexus pipeline or a North Dakota Access pipeline may be yours. I'm sure that you don't want your kids living 1,000 feet away from an explosive pipeline. So thanks for coming on, Brad. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right, man. And for everybody else, always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.